Hello, it's Laura Lawson here with Eatology. We're going to go over the label method today. This is going to give you guys a lot of freedom to add some variety to your meals, cooking, recipes, all sorts of stuff like that. So we're going to go over some examples and we'll go from there. First off, this packet I got from Eatology.co. We have a list of resources as well as the class schedule for all of the classes that we have on Thursdays. I will post the link at the bottom of this video. And here's our very first example. So there are a couple of things that we want to keep in mind. First, the most important thing, we want to keep in mind what a block is. So this right here is one block. All right? So what Dr. Barrysears from the Zone termed to be one serving, one block, is going to be 7 grams of protein, 9 grams of carb, and 1.5 grams of fat. If you need to go back and review the other videos to catch up to all of this, I would recommend doing that. All right, so we need to remember what a block is, 7, 9, 1.5. And then what we are going to be looking at, for the most part, and in our nutrition label, is going to be our fat right here, our carbohydrates, and our protein, okay? And depending on what nutrition fact it is, we'll also take a look at serving size. However, this one, this is a serving, so it makes this example fairly easy. The very first thing that we're going to do, we're always going to use the exact same format. So we're going to take the numbers of, the grams of fat, or the grams of carb, or the grams of protein on the nutrition label, and we're going to divide that by the same block per Dr. Barrysears. So in our example here, we have actually let me back up. The very first thing I'm going to do is use this template. Always use this template. And so whenever I'm going to do a recipe, I'll literally go and I'll write this down on every single one so that I don't get confused. So you got your label method. That's how we know what we're doing. We're going to do protein, carb, and fat. I always go in this order. Take note that it's not in the same order here. It's fat, carb, protein. It'll always be in this order on nutrition labels. I do it in this order because this is how we always block it. So protein, carb, fat, grams, 7, we're going to try to find the block. So what we're going to do, we're going to look and see how many grams of protein. There's 3 grams of protein. How many grams of carb? There's 22 grams of carb. And how many grams of fat? 7. Put 7 right there. And then I literally just plug and chug. I got my calculator here. We're going to do 3 divided by 7 equals 0.4. So not even a full block. Carb, 22 divided by 9 equals 2.4 blocks. And now we've got 7 divided by 1.5 equals 4.6. So I would say in this example that the protein is negligible, so we don't necessarily need to worry about that. We have got a couple of things that we can do. Primarily this is going to be a fat. It's a little bit higher fat than it is carb. Probably you're eating something that's not paleo, I would guess, if you're using a nutrition label for the most part. Depending on what it is, I would probably go ahead and bump it up to a 4-block meal. Therefore, I would add 4 blocks of protein, 4.5 if you want to be particular. I think 4 blocks of protein would be fine to do. Make it a 4-block meal as your goal. 4 blocks of protein. You'll need to add about 2 blocks of carb, 2.5, that works fine. Fat, 4.6, we're here. So basically, that would bump all of this up to about 4 blocks, 4 blocks, 4 blocks. And then you have a 4-block meal. That makes sense? And that's the exact same thing that we have down here. Just have my template here. All right, now next example. All right, this is pretty much the same thing, okay? I went ahead and wrote this out on this sheet of paper. Now, this is the very first thing. If I'm actually looking at the back of this broccoli and cauliflower bag, I'm gonna know this is a carb. So that's kind of already on my mind. The next, how many servings are in this bag? Well, we look at the label says 4. There are 4 servings in this bag. So this is 1 serving. There's gonna be 4 of all of these. Fat, carb, protein. Cool? So we're gonna come over here to our protein. How many grams of protein are we looking at? Well, take it to the calculator. 2 times 4 servings, because we gotta get total amount of protein in the whole bag is gonna be 8 grams. Total carb, 4 times 4 servings. It's gonna be 16 grams. And then let's see, fat, 0. There's 0, so 0 times 4 servings, 0. All right, so that's everything in the bag, the whole bag. Now, just like last time, 0 fat, 0 grams. Let's see, total carbohydrate, 16 grams, 16 grams, 8 grams of protein, chug and plug, plug and chug. Go with it. Okay, here we go. 8 divided by 7 equals 1.1. 16 divided by 9 equals 1.7. Fat. 0 divided by 1.5 equals 0. Okay, so obviously there's no fat in this bag. Protein, carb. Now remember, one thing that we want to do, we want to keep when it comes to straight paleo foods, like this is just broccoli and just cauliflower. It's not fancy, there's nothing added. So we already have classified it as a carb for our earlier classes. So we keep your proteins, your carbs, your fats, your fats. In this case, we know it's gonna be a carb. Don't need to worry about the protein. Dr. Barrysears has gone ahead and accounted for that type of error, or I shouldn't really say error, but that type of difference, I suppose, in standard paleo items, proteins, nuts, that sort of thing. So carb, basically we're looking at 1.7 blocks, almost 2 blocks. About 2 blocks of carb right there. So the whole bag for a 2-block meal, you can eat that right there. Boom. Okay. Got one more here, all right? One more example, I believe. So for our example here, same thing, believe it or not. Okay, so we're doing some olives, a little package of olives that we get at HEB. There are 2 servings per container, so we need to double all of this. So just like last time, we're gonna do 3 times 2. 3 times 2. So there's a total of 6 grams of fat, 0.7 times 2, 1.4, and then protein, 0.2 times 4, nope, so sorry, 0.2 times 2, getting ahead of myself, 0.4, there you go. Okay, so these are our total macros for the olive bag. We're gonna chug and plug it. So 6 grams of fat down here, carb 1.4, protein 0.4. So we already kind of know what's gonna be not used as far as the protein and the carb go, but we're gonna go ahead and go for it. 1.4 divided by 7.505, yes. So there's really not much protein in there. We can go ahead and cross that out. Carb 1.4 divided by 9 equals 0.15, woohoo. And fat 6 divided by 1.5, there we go, there's a more even number, 4 blocks. So that's barely anything in there as well. Olives are pretty much just a straight up. Lemon, garlic are really free food, if you will. There's not anything that you really would need to count in either the lemon or the garlic. So therefore, I would consider it a paleo food. It's olive. We know it's gonna be a fat in that case, and we are proven right here. So it's 4 blocks of fat. Now, I would say I would half the bag if my goal was a 2-block meal. I would just eat half the bag and save the other half for later. And then therefore you have two 2-block servings of fat. And then you would of course need to add your protein. So if we were having one meal of that would be 2 blocks of fat, maybe 2 blocks of chicken, which might be like 2 ounces. And then your carb, you can have the broccoli and cauliflower bag that we just took a look at. That's 2 blocks of veggie. And then you got yourself a 2-block meal. You got enough fat to go a whole nother time around. So that's how you do that little sucker right there. I think there's maybe one more. Let's see what we got over here. Okie dokie. Our last example. This is our last example. All right, garden vegetable medley from HEB, Green Giant. They're found in the frozen food section. Now it's lightly sauced, so they've added something to this. What have they added? I don't know, but it might not just be a straight up carb. It might be. We don't know yet. We're gonna do our little template. There we go. We're gonna take a look at how many servings. So servings per container, about 2. So again, we need to double all of these. There's 2 and 2 and 2. So 2 times 0.5, 2 times 0.5 equals 1. 2. Whoops, hold on, it's not a 2. 2 times 1/4 equals 28. And then 2 times 2 equals 4. All right, so now we're gonna just plug and chug it. Our total fat, 1.0. Total carb, 28. And total protein, 4 grams. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go 4 divided by 7 equals 0.5. 28 divided by 9 equals 3. Rounding is totally fine and highly recommended. Divided by 1.5 equals 0.6. So ultimately we are sitting here with a very small amount of protein, very small amount of fat. It is going to go ahead and be a carbohydrate. Lightly sauced, what necessarily does that mean? Checking the back of the ingredients is always a good thing, but they didn't necessarily use probably an oil base. It might have been like lemon juice. So just make sure that you keep your eye out when things say sauce, lightly sauced. They can kind of get carried away with adding things. In this case, not a bad option. It makes for a very easy 3-block set of carb. So for you 3-blockers, let's go ahead and make a meal, a 3-block meal. Might look like our protein and our carb and our fat. Might look like 3 ounces of chicken. Our carb will be 3 blocks or 1 box of garden veggie, garden medley. And then for our fat, hey, 9 almonds, nice and easy, right? There you go. There's a 3-block meal zoned out for you. All right, I hope that made sense to you guys. I hope y'all were able to follow along. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will follow up with some more videos for some exercises that you guys can do on your own. Good luck zoning, and have fun cooking. Talk to you later.